Hello everyone, I am doing this recording now for the fourth time. My Facebook Live is not just doesn't seem to be working. I don't know what I have issues with, but decided just to do a regular recording, and then I'll upload the video to the Facebook group. So this is the Lightburn Software website. As you see here, lightburnsoftware.com. It'll bring you right to their main page. If you go to their online store, if you do want to buy Lightburn, there is 3 versions that they have. Most of you will probably not be using it for laser, so you can buy the cheapest version they have, which is the $60 G-code version. If you do have a simple G-code CNC plasma cutter, they have said that some people are having success with running, exporting the G-code out of Lightburn and running their CNC plasma with that, but there's no guarantees that that would work with any particular machine, although they are working on generating a direct CNC plasma machine software version to where you can operate your CNC plasma directly from the software, just like you do with and are able to with the lasers. So another good news that they're coming out with, he said hopefully within the next month or month and a half, is they're going to generate a design only version of their software. So it'll be just for designing. It won't run any machines or any G-code or anything at all. So you'll be able to design and then export your designs as a DXF into Plasma, CAM, or whichever software you want to use for that, and then generate your cut paths and your G-code and send that to your fire control or whatever software you use to run your plasma. That will be, they're hoping, around $30 to $40. So if you do want to wait for that a couple months, might save you, $10, $20 or whatever, but for what the software does, the $60, in my opinion, I run the $120 version because I have a DSP machine. But even still, the $120 is well worth the investment for this software. Another thing that somebody had mentioned was the install, because you don't have a machine. If you go to their documentation on GitHub, under their install and adding laser, you will see the instructions here at the bottom to what to do if you don't have a laser yet. So you can go ahead and install the software, and then without having a machine or a laser actually hooked up to it, and that's a little instructions on what to do for that. So let me go ahead and bring up the software. This is what you have when you open it up. Over here on the top left, you have your pick tool. Next one is for lines, for drawing. Next one is rectangle, for drawing squares and rectangles. And then you have your ellipse and circle creator, your polygon. This is your node edits, and it also gives you shortcuts there for keyboard shortcuts for your node editing. S for smooth, L for convert line to curve, C for convert node to corner, D for delete node, I for insert, M for node midpoint, B for break shape, and let me get that, see if I can come back, T for trim, and E for extend. Those are all very, very cool shortcuts, and I'll try to maybe show a few of those here later on. Next is going to be your text. Then this is more for just lasers, so you can position the laser by clicking there and then clicking on your workspace. That will move the laser to that particular position. Then you have your measure tool, your offset or outline, and then these next 4 are your Boolean operations, which we'll show later. And then you have your grid array, circle array, and then your midpoint set. And then this is for making corners into radiuses. So you can click on a corner, set your radius size here, click on a corner node and it'll automatically change that to a radius. Over here on the right, pretty much this is a camera that if you have a camera on your laser, that is where that shows. And then you have your move tools, so you can position and move your laser from here. And then you have your layers, which is where your different color layers as you start designing will show up. And then these are all laser controlled items down here, so you really wouldn't need to pay attention to those. Down here at the bottom, you have all of your different colors that you can use for different layers. So kind of like in Photoshop, if you're familiar with Photoshop, you can generate different layers. With this, if you say create a square, and over here online I can change that to fill. I'll duplicate that, go to my pick tool and make another one, and duplicate it again, make another one again, and make another one. So now you can see it's kind of made those cutouts, because anywhere you overlay one shape with another that's the same color, it automatically makes it into a hole. But I can change this to red and go to fill, and now I'll change this one to orange, change that to fill, and let's change this one to purple, and let's change that one to fill also. So you can see now I have 4 different layers here, and they're all in order here. If I want to put the purple behind the orange, all I do is hit my up, and that will move that behind the orange, so now it's layered behind there. If I want to put the red in front of the orange, I can go ahead and move that one down, and now that puts that in front of the orange. So that's how you can move your layers around if you're doing designs where you need to move stuff around. So let's go ahead and just design a quick oval sign here. So I'm going to select my ellipse tool, generate a oval, and I'm going to change it to black just for all purposes here. So I have my outside shape there now, and I need to create an inset for this to make a hole here in the middle. So you could duplicate it and then resize it and scale it in, but the easiest way is just go to your outline, and you have a couple different options here. You have outward, inward, or both. I'm going to go inward, and then you have bevel, round, or corner, which I'm going to leave it round because that's a round shape. And then over here you have select resulting objects, which will select the resulting outline object when I'm done. And then you have delete original object, which will delete the original object that you created the outline from, which I don't want to do that because I want to keep it. And then optimize and simplify results, just make sure that you don't have a bunch of unwanted nodes or unneeded nodes in the resulted shape. So I'm going to go ahead and create this. You can move your up and down arrows, or you can just type in values. I'm going to type in 1.75 for inch and a quarter, or inch and 3/4. And now I have my oval shape there. And if I wanted to adjust this a little bit, I could select both of them and make it a little higher if I want, or make it a little smaller. You know, you could make it wherever you want. Naturally, if you go too far, now you have more on the ends than you do in the middle. So if you wanted to fix that, all you'd have to do is just select your inside shape. Select your inside shape here and delete it, and then just rerun the same, select your inside and run the same outline object. And naturally, being in that fine does not look right, so I would want to make it, maybe something more like that, and that would keep the outline being the same all the way around. So let's just hit Control Z here and go back to where we were. Alright, so now I have that. I want to put my text, my people's husband and wife's name across the top here. So I'll go to my text tool, and I have a couple fonts that I have generated and made into plasma fonts. So if I just hit P for plasma, that'll bring that up, and then hit enter. And then I want to type in, I don't want to use 6-inch tall letters, so let's change that to 1.25-inch letters. And then I want to type in Dave. I do want that to be all capitals though. Dave and Helen. And then that is my couple's name. I can move that over, and as you see, as soon as you move something of the same color over top of another color, like I say, it automatically knows or assumes that you want to have that be a whole. Let me go ahead and hit Shift and select my outside circle, and then hit C, and that will center that text up. And then I want to just bump it up a little bit to where I'm looking at this part right here in the middle. I want to bump that up to where it looks like that would be centered horizontally. And then I can just grab this little blue dot right over here, and I can curve my text right down to follow that shape. Now, as you can see here, my and symbol when I created the font was not correct, so I need to fix that. So I can just right click and convert to path. Now that converts that into individual paths. And then I'm just going to create a small rectangle. I usually use a 0.06 width when I'm doing my tabs, depending on what the design is and what the size is. And then I want to Control D to duplicate that and move it down here. And if I move my cursor to the outside corner there, it'll allow me to rotate it. And then that one's already selected, so if I just hold down Shift, it selected the outside. Let me go back outside here. So if I select that, go right on the edge here and select Shift and hold that, then I can do a weld operation on that. And then select this one. Select the outside one again. There we go. Select that one. Nope, hit the outside one again. Alright, so let's do it this way. Let's just do a drag and drop. And now that selected those both, I can do a weld operation and weld those. Now I can select the outside of the actual and symbol. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little trick called Boolean Assistant. If I Control B, it will bring up the Boolean Assistant, and I can just hover over these different Boolean methods until I get the one that I'm looking for, which is that one. So I can click on that and hit OK. And then I want to hold down Shift and select the bottom one. Do the same thing, Control B. Hover over whichever one I want, which is going to be that one. Hit OK. Now that and symbol is fixed and those dropouts are taken care of. So now I want to add my bottom text here. And we'll just do EST 2021, and we will go ahead and move this into the center roughly. While that's selected, hold down Shift, select our outside shape, hit C for center. That centers it up. Now I can select just my text, find my little blue dot there, and just move that up to where I think it looks good. And we have our bottom and our top done. So now we just need to put our last name in the middle, and I'm going to go with Marshall. So we'll do our Marshall. And I use Hello font for a lot of these types. So we'll type in HELLO, hit enter, and then we'll just size this up to go from one side to the other. Now if I wanted this font to be a little bolder, so to speak, I could easily do that. It's sized to about where I want it now, so if I go ahead and convert it to a path, and then I can select just the outside path. I don't want to select these insides because I don't want to make them smaller. I want to leave them the same as they are. and then just go to my outline and go outward. And of course I don't want to inch and 3/4, but maybe 0.02, 0.04 maybe. So we'll leave that at 0.04. I want to delete the original object because I don't want to keep it, and hit OK. And now that has thickened up that font to where it's a little nicer looking. And so I'll just select all that and hit Control G for group. Now I want to try to get that to be cut into that outside loop. So about right there looks good. So I will select that and then select my inside shape here, hit Control B for Boolean, and then just go to my shape that I want, which is right there, and hit OK. And now that is completely ready to go. Now I want to put a couple hang tabs on here. So if I just get my square tool, I can select this. I want to go, let's go 1 inch wide. Our height doesn't really matter because we're going to weld that right into that outside ring. But I do want to radius my tools. So if I come over here to shape properties, I can put my quarter radius up a little bit, and that will radius out those corners. And then I can go to my circle, and I want to draw a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. And you can work with in metrics if you want to. You don't have to be in inches, but I'm just going to put a, not 0.25, 0.25. 0.25 would be way too small. You can work in metric if you want. It's entirely up to you. But so now I will click and drag and select both of those. Hit C for center to center that up vertically, and then hit Control D to duplicate. Hold down my shift, and as I do that, it's going to keep it snapped to the same height as I move across. I'll go ahead and unclick, and then I'll hold shift and drag around this one, which will select all of those. Control G for group, and then I'll hold shift again, select my outside shape, and C for center to center those hangers up in where I want them. Now that's all selected, so I can hit Control B for my Boolean assistant again, and that's the one I want. And so now we are done. So now if I change my cuts and layers to line, you'll see that all the lines have been joined. Everything is exactly how I want it. I do probably want to get rid of this, so if I click and ungroup on that, I can go ahead and select that. Now you see what happened there? I clicked and dragged to the left, and when you do that, it selects everything that box would happen to cross. So if I just click and drag to there, it only selects the outside. If I click and drag to here, it selects the outside and the inside. If I click and drag to all of those, and it selects those, so you get the idea. So if I click and drag over this, it's going to select everything. What you want to do is click and drag to the right. And when you click and drag to the right, it only selects what the box fully encapsulates. So go ahead and delete that. And we are ready to go. I can export this as a DXF and open it in SheetCam, generate my toolpath, and send it over to Fire Control and cut it out on my machine. So let's go ahead and remove that. Another thing that Lightburn is extremely good at is tracing. So I have here, let me pull up this back. I have here a crash car search that I did, and I usually search for black and white images because that's usually where you're going to find stuff that is usable for tracing into vector art the easiest, unless you're going to do something manually. But let's just go ahead and copy this image, and we'll bring that back into Lightburn and paste it. And let's get zoomed in here. So as you can see, it's not a very good image at all. Even has a watermark in there that we would have to deal with. But if I click on that and right click and go to trace image, that's going to bring up the image trace box. And from there I can make this box bigger, which is usually what I do, just to be able to see a little bit better. And then I can fade image, which will fade out the black a little bit, so that allows me to see my trace lines. And if you zoom in here, you can move this bottom slider left and right, and the more you go to the right, the more gray areas it's going to pick up, and the more you go to the left, the more darker areas it's only going to pick up. So I usually find a happy medium point where I think it's getting a lot of the detail. If you pay attention right here, you can see where it finally picks that up, and so I think that looks pretty good right there. So I'll go ahead and commit to that. And it looks like nothing has happened, but if you click here in the middle and drag this out, you can see there now that if I change this to fill, I have a completely traced, perfect image that I can use for my plasma cutting. Now there is one area right here that if you look at the original image was not connected. So if you did want to fix something like that, you could always right click and ungroup, come into your node edit mode. I usually like to node edit in line mode because it allows you to see your nodes better. But all you have to do is click on that node and hit B for break, and that will break that apart. Click on this node, B for break, that'll break that apart. And then if you just bring one node over top of the other, you see how it snaps there? It will automatically join those shapes back together for you. So now we have two individual shapes. If we go back to our fill mode, you can see that that has a separation there now, and it looks more like the original did. So you could do that wherever you need to, or whatever changes, little adjustments you need to make. If I was going to plasma cut this, I would need to make these little small areas in here a little bit bigger. So one of the things that I do for that is I use an outline, and I'll change this to 0.02 maybe, and I want to delete the original shape. So if I go ahead and hit OK, that deletes the original shape and creates me a new one. Once you do that one time, if you just select your next shape, hold down Control as you click on the outline, it automatically does whatever settings you had done the first time. So you don't have to go through the entire process of setting your width and all that stuff. Alternatively, you can select one object, hold down Shift, select a couple more, and then go and click that, and it will do all of those at the same time. So depends on how you want to do it. Sometimes I do one size of offset on one shape and might change and do a little bit different size of offset on another shape. It just depends on what I'm doing. So that is a little bit of the tracing feature. Next, let's do the draw some lines. So say I want to just draw a straight line. If you click, and it will just do a straight line. If you hold down Shift, it combines you to 90-degree turns. So you can draw as many 90 or 45 degree turns as you would like. So you can draw a simple shape here. And if you get back to the back, if you want to connect those, as soon as you get close, it's going to go ahead and connect those shapes and generate a solid shape for you. Let's just go back. So say I wanted that to just be a double line, like an accent line. What I can do is go to my pick tool, select that path, and then go to outline, and let's go up about to there, and I want to delete the original. Now I have a double path line there that quickly without actually having to draw both double lines and keep them the same width. And where that really comes into play is if you are drawing curved shapes. So if you click and drag and then let off, that will start a curve. So you click, drag, let off, click, drag, let off, click, drag, let off. So as far as you drag out or wherever you move this, it's going to adjust your, and then you can go back to straight lines if you want, and so forth. Again, if you want to go back to that, click and drag, and then just click if you don't want to go back to straight, and then click and drag, click, click and drag. So you depends on if you want to do a line, just click once. If you want to do a line, just click once, go over and click again. If you want to do a curve, click, hold, and drag and make your curve. So it's the escape key. So now that would be, if I wanted to trace an even shape line and double line this, so to speak, it would be awful hard to go back through and get an exact duplicate of this this drawing with a precision. So now I want to do my pick tool, select that shape, go to offset, and now I can change that distance to wherever I wanted it to be. You know, if I just wanted to be something small, bigger, medium, whatever, and hit OK. Now if I go to my line view, I have two perfectly spaced lines around that whole entire path that I just drew. So it really speeds up drawing. Like especially if I'm drawing something, for instance, that has some curvature to it, to where I don't want to use a rectangle. Like if you're drawing just a straight plane rectangle, you know, like so, you can go ahead and, you know, do that and change it to your fill here, and you would have that. But if I wanted to do something that I want to have a curvature to it, like a grill or whatever, I want to be able to click here and then click over here, hold my shift key, get straight, one for one, make that straight line, hit escape, then go to my pick tool, or not my pick tool, my edit tool. I can click that, hold here in the middle, and then I can move this up and arch it like that. And then I can go to my outline tool, create my outline, and now I have a perfectly arched piece that I can then duplicate however many times I want to duplicate it, and space it down to make my grill shape, so to speak. So it's a real powerful pen tool, using that in combination with the outline tool. Another thing that is real good at is at reducing nodes. So I'm going to bring in this mouse paddle design, and I'm going to go ahead and ungroup it and change it from fill to line so that you can see your nodes. Then I'm just going to click on my node edit here. So as you can see, there is a bunch of nodes in there, and it has nothing to do with the designer or anything. It's just DXF files are notoriously known for putting random nodes where they're not necessarily needed. It's just the nature of a DXF file. So what you're able to do is go up to Tools and go to your Optimize Selected Shapes. And this dialog box will allow you to move this bottom slider, and you can start seeing how drastically you're able to reduce that node count. So I just went from almost 6,000 nodes down to 1,700 nodes in a matter of seconds, and that design is going to be a whole lot more friendly to cut and process on your G-code and on your CNC machine, because there's not as many direction changes for it to read. So it's going to cut a lot smoother and a lot faster because of that. So say I wanted, since we have this design up here, go ahead and hit my pick tool. I can change that to a fill. And so say I wanted to add a name to the bottom of this, I could go ahead and get my type tool and type in Joe. Let's go ahead and change this font out do something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and make it all caps. And just move that up in there where it just overhangs the existing outline. Hold Shift, select that outline, Control B for my Boolean tool, and then just hover over this one. That's not the one I want this one. And OK. Now if I turn this back on to line mode, you can see that it has easily welded that shape in there together, so it's going to cut out properly. Now I would have to do the dropout here. So if I want to create a rectangle, and let's go 0.06. Put this up in here like so. And I want to do my, select that, Control B for my Boolean assistant, scroll over these, find out which one I want, which is going to be right there, and done. And now that dropout piece is not going to cause me any issues. So it's really quick to edit and create designs, move stuff around. Let's go over a little bit of the node editing here. So like with this one, if I clicked on this and started moving these handles around, you can see I can move that one independently of the other side. That's what's called a cusp. If I click on this and hit S for smooth, now it is going to move both of those independently, or together rather, to create a smooth shape. The other, I'm not real good at knowing these shortcuts. L would be back to line, and C would be to convert it to a corner. So if you do C, that's what's known. Come on, I gotta click on that C. That's what's known as, come on now, C. There we go. That's what's known as cusp in CorelDRAW. It's known as corner in here, so that's why I called it cusp originally. But that's what that portion does. If I wanted to add a node here, I just hover over that and hit I for insert. And now it's inserted a node in there that I can move that around and make changes. Here I see a little jagged, so if I wanted to delete that one, just hit the D key, and that deletes that. Then I might want to come in here and change that. I see some here that might create issues, so if I just click and drag on those and hit my D key, then that would delete those ones. So then I can drag this up a little bit more to make that fit and clean that up just a little bit. So it's real easy to edit nodes and edit things, fix things up a little bit. It's really quick to do. Let's go over the trim. So if you have, let's say, so let's pick these ones. So let's go here and hit, I believe it's T for trim. Yes, T for trim. So what you need to do for that, because I don't use this one a whole lot, but I believe you have to have two lines crossing each other like this. And let's convert this to a path. Alright, so what I believe that does, if you're in Node Edit here and you select T, there we go. So that just automatically trimmed out that portion to the next two lines that it was in contact with. So if you do the, I believe it's E for extend, yes. So if you click this one and do an E for extend, now it's extended that node over to the other side where the next line would have been. So same thing here. If I would click here, hover there and hit T for trim, now it's trimmed that out to be so now I could actually go ahead and hit D for, I've just added that little box in there. It's kind of the same thing as what some of your Boolean methods do, which Boolean usually works for me for most of what I'm trying to do, but sometimes you would have a need for possibly using the trim or extend function. There is a YouTube video that Lightburn put out that shows the trim and extend function and its uses. It's a little better than what I just showed there, but gives you the general idea. So other than that, I really can't think of anything off the top of my head that would be a good use for plasma designs and plasma usage other than what I've already showed. I'd be more than happy to do a Q&A session, or try to, even though the other live session didn't seem to want to work. But I'll be more than happy to try to answer some questions and do that if you guys are interested. Just put it in the comments and maybe put some available times when you're available. I'm in Eastern time zone, so preferably a time that that works where it's not in the middle of the night for me. But I am available usually in the evenings, and then over the weekends a lot of times, pretty much any time. So let me know if you guys are interested and if any particular time or day would work, and I will do my best to accommodate and help you out. So hope this helps somebody out, and we'll see you next time.